Welcome back to the program, everyone. My name is Jeff, otherwise known as the Economic Prepper. Today, I want to talk to you about Bitcoin, of course. Obviously, we're talking about Bitcoin. Not everybody yet, because we're still reeling over the events of last week and how that's playing out. But what we're going to talk about today is Bitcoin. Now, Bitcoin is surging. As I speak right now, it's at 90,000. Let me check the price real quick because it's moving rapidly. Let's see. At the moment, as I'm recording here, I've got 90,000 and change. So a little over 90,000. It was up over to around 93, 94,000 today. But we've broken through what I call the inflation adjusted all-time high. So I'm going to get into all those numbers. I'm going to get into a chart. I'm going to talk about where we're going in the short term, which is one of the hardest things to predict, talk about, and this is not financial advice, just my own interpretation of a chart, and a couple other factors where I think where I can call a local high about to happen. So, well, I'm going to get into that. Before I do, if you like this kind of content, please hit the like, share, subscribe, notification button. Helps out the channel. Follow me on X as well. More to come on lots of different social platforms, but let me just share my screen. And I'm going to talk about the chart that I made here. Now, this is looking at several years. This is a weekly chart. And what I've drawn two things on here. First, I drew the orange line, which is the top of what I'm calling a cup pattern. This is a cup with handle pattern. It's a classic technical pattern in charting. So the first thing you do is you find the neckline of the cup. So that's the top of the cup. And I drew it right around 65,000. Okay, because the last 6 months or so, we've been stuck in that range, trending a little bit downwards, but basically between 60 and 70K for what seemed like months, like 6 months. And then I measured from the neckline down to the bottom of the cup. And that, in this blue area, shows it's about from 65 down to 25. So I call it 40K. So the way that you do technical analysis on this, and you look at the cup with handle pattern, when the handle launches upwards, and that's typically what happens with the cup with handle, when you get a big candle upwards, where's it going to go? Well, the height of that candle, according to the metrics and historical proof of this pattern, you get the depth of the cup of 40K and you add it to the handle. And now if I call the handle at 60K-ish, where it launched, 60 plus 40, now you're at 100K. Now, so that's what the chart tells me, near term. But what I'm going to say, and as I drop out of that, and I'm going to talk about the 100K number. Now, when things start to get close or at 100K, and call it 102, 98, whatever, things are going to trigger in people's minds. There's a psychological barrier of $100,000 for a single Bitcoin. People are going to think that's crazy, or they're going to sell off, or they've already put in orders to take profits there. So it would not surprise me at all. Again, not financial advice. This is just my interpretation. But round numbers are a big psychological barrier for a lot of investors or people that look at charts and whatnot. Or even just like, this is why things cost $9.99 instead of $10. Round numbers sound bigger. 100,000 sounds way bigger than 99,500. Just the way that people's psyches works. That's why the whole 99 cents thing happens, and why there's like 9/10 at a gas station for the price of a gallon and so on. So they play games with those types of numbers. But 100K is a big number, big barrier. But as you just saw on that chart, the chart kind of says we're probably going to hit our head there, and then it'll come back down. So we've got the chart telling us about 100K be a local peak. We have the psychological barrier saying 100K might be a limitation. Now the third thing. We are in the time frame where we are at. Now, a lot of you have not been through bull cycles, and or been through a whole Bitcoin cycle. This is my third. This is now entering my third cycle, where I was there for 2021. I was there for 2017. I saw those massive bull runs to 20,000, to 70,000, to 69,420, whatever it was. These massive bull runs, and they seem to come out of nowhere, and you just launch upwards. The euphoria overwhelms a lot of people. Say that it's always going to be green. It's going to keep going up. It's the bull market, Bitcoin's to the moon. You get that euphoria. Everybody's saying it can't possibly go down. And for a little while, that's what happens. But there are tops that happen, or there's even local tops that happen. So given the time frame that we're at, and typically these bull runs have happened in the holiday period from, I'll call it Halloween the month of November, December, from Thanksgiving, Christmas, New Year's. That tends to be the bull run market time frame. And a lot of people start talking about it as they get together over the holidays, Christmas parties, what have you. People will be talking about Bitcoin, especially when it gets to be 100K and people are talking about it. Now you're going to get to the end of the year. There may be some FOMO but some people are like, I'll wait for a pullback and it's too high, it's too expensive. It wouldn't be, and plus there's other reasons there might be sell-off, such as the end of year tax preparation, which we hope is not going to be a thing for much longer, but it is right now. So all these factors are kind of saying like we could easily hit 100K. We just went from 70 to 90 in like no time. And now, we're knocking on the door of 100K. Is that going to be the ceiling? It'll probably be a local ceiling, but I don't know how long or for how wide the pullback's going to be. It could be that we get a pullback now, it settles in, it kind of settles in the 80, 90K range. And then other factors about the economy start to happen. And Bitcoin is still tied in a lot of investors' mindsets to the rest of the market. If the NASDAQ goes down, if the S&P 500 go down, if other economic factors will go down, so will Bitcoin. Does that make sense? Not necessarily, but that's probably what will happen because there's a lot of Wall Street money now with the ETFs and what have you that's entering into that market space. But also there's going to be that mindset of, hey, it's time to sell for profits, take profits for tax season, all that sort of thing that could happen between now and end of year. Lastly, there's a lot of things that could happen with the economy between now and January 20th. There's a lot going on. It's a long 2 months until we have a full, peaceful, I forget, the change of leadership. If you know the right terminology, put it in the comments down below. I'll read them all. In any event, I would not be surprised with all the pumping up that they've done with the playing with the numbers for the last year and a half, saying we're not in a recession when clearly we are. The job numbers that continuously get revised, the inflation numbers, the CPI, all these economic numbers that are just, they're playing games with it to make things look better than they really are in the U.S. economy. Now that the present leadership is probably leaving, should be leaving in January. We'll see what happens, but they'll leave in January. There's no reason for them to prop things up anymore. So wheels may start to come off. Things may start to look bad. We may have the real estate, either commercial real estate, the residential real estate, other factors in the economy, unemployment, all these potential factors could go kablooey and things could affect the stock market, which will ripple into Bitcoin and will drive Bitcoin down in the near term. Again, the hardest thing to do is to predict the price of Bitcoin in the short term. But all the things are signaling that the local upper bound is probably 100K, maybe until the end of 2024. And we may be lower than that. We may actually be lower than this number right now because of other economic uncertainty. We may be like this 90K may be like the max that we're going to get for the rest of the year. We just don't know. But what we do know is that it's the only asset. There's a limited supply of it. We know exactly how much there's going to be. And that's not true of any other asset. And I did note, I'll end with this. In every 4-year cycle to date so far of Bitcoin, the low for the prior 4 years has been election week. So in other words, when you get to election week, that price is sets the low point for the next 4 years. Will that play out for the next 4? I don't know, but it seems to be trending in that direction. A lot of talk, a lot of positivity. A lot of countries are now getting interested in it. There's talk of strategic reserves in the United States for just Bitcoin and then possibly buying up to 1 million Bitcoin over the next 5 years. So long term, the trend is clear. Price is going to go up. However, the short term, there are things that can be done in the trading market. If you're interested, not financial advice, but I would not be surprised if we hit 100K and then we trickle down for the rest of the year. But what are your thoughts? Leave a comment down below. I read them all, and I look forward to reading your thoughts and opinions, and I will see you in the next video. Take care.